Stand to your guns, my hearts of oak. Let not a word on board be spoke. Victory soon will crown the joke. Be silent and be ready. Ram home your guns and sponge them well. Let us be sure the balls will tell. The cannon's roar shall sound their knell. Be steady, boys, be steady. A broadside, my boys, see the blood in purple tide trickle down her battered side. Winged with fate the bullets fly. Conquer, boys, or bravely die. Hurl destruction on your foes. She sinks, huzzah! To the bottom. To the bottom. Down she goes.
Hello and welcome to The Bad Spot and part 14 of the Last Starmarked, my Sundered Isles campaign. At the top of the episode you will have heard an excerpt from the sea shanty Stand to Your Guns, read by the wonderful Rhys Lawton. Rhys is an audio performer that you can hear in Ethics Town, the Silt Verses, the Amelia Project and the Secret of St Kilda, amongst others. He also co-created and writes the microfiction podcast Paddleboat and produces the Quantum Leopard podcast, the podcast sibling of the loveliest comedy night in London, and he was very clear about this. He wants me to let you know that he has one cat at present. And as always, you will find links to all of Rhys's stuff in the down below, and whilst you are rooting around down there, why don't you leave a like, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you can follow along with the campaign each and every week. These things are really important for supporting the channel and supporting what I do, and if you really want to go the extra mile and help fund this nonsense, then why not check out the Bad Spot Patreon. There you'll get early, ad-free access to all episodes, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and your name on screen, like these lovely people. Last time out, we caught a glimpse once again of Gideon's old life with the woman in the lighthouse. And unlike last time that we saw this, the scene continued on, and we hear the door below them being kicked in and the lantern above them shattering. Back in the present, Gideon, who has been unable to make sense of any of the instructions from the Griffin Academy's dossier, takes a leap of faith and leads the expedition almost blind into Naveni's interior to try and find the court of the Sunken Queen. Now, as luck would have it, he stumbles upon a landmark that he is finally able to marry up to information on a map, working out that the information that he has is actually from some time in the past when Naveni was alive with life and flooded with water, unlike the arid wasteland that it is now. On further inspection, Gideon makes a fascinating discovery, a separate path leading underground, denoted by traces of bioluminescence and tiny coral growths. Convinced that the crown is showing them the way, Gideon follows. Heading down, the party stumble across the corpse of another Thundermaw killed violently and, most importantly, very recently. Not wanting to linger, they push on and find themselves lost in a vast cave network. There they are ambushed by what must have killed the Thundermaw, an ancient giant crocodile, the guardian of the path. As it attacks the security team and turns on Gideon, Lorenzo and Harrington, Gideon reaches for the crown of tides, perhaps the only thing that can save them. So we left last episode facing somewhat down the barrel of some danger in the shape of a giant crocodile. And let's not forget that was an extreme foe, which would be very difficult. I decided to do that for shits and giggles. I don't know, surely it won't backfire. But before we kind of pick that up again, let's do what we always do and have a look at progress. Do we have anything that counts as progress? Now, discovering the path of salt definitely counts as gaining valuable insight into our quest to return the Crown of Tides, so we'll mark progress on that to 5. And then also we made a connection with Harrington at the start of the episode, and I'm wondering if there's anything we can do to develop our relationship, anything that happened in the previous episode that might count. And looking at the move, I actually think that there is. I think that helping Gideon kind of decipher what that odd rock formation was, and kind of work out what the landmark represented on the map, I think that that definitely counts. Does it count as being in a desperate circumstance? I actually think yes, because Gideon had nothing. He is leading this team. The stakes are that if his true nature is revealed, he will be killed and left to rot. So yeah, I feel like that's pretty desperate. So I am going to have that. So May Harrington, the connection is up to 2. And finally, this very morning, in fact, one of my lovely YouTube commenters pointed out that when we make a discovery, which we did when we rolled the hit with the strong hit with the match, we are actually supposed to, as per the move, mark 2 ticks on our discovery legacy track. So doing that now actually fills one entire box and means that after nearly 14 hours of play, Gideon has finally earned his first XP. So that is, that's some huge character advancement there. What we'll spend that on, who knows? But yeah, I don't generally tend to earn a lot of XP in these games. Archer certainly didn't, and Gideon seems to be no different. But yeah, I think that's everything. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Through the dense murk rising from the fetid swamp marshland that is the Barb, we see the hulking shapes of the clockwork automatons come lumbering slowly into something like clarity. They are following a path in single file, each carrying pieces of equipment, boxes, and ordnance. As we follow them, we see them arrive at the waterline, where a short gangplank leads up to a very, very strange looking vessel. It's boxy, it's square, there's no sail, it's heavily armoured with plating on all sides. There are cannons, there are heavy lengths of chain winding around the hull, if you can call it that, of this thing. It's wide enough for perhaps 5 or 6 people to stand shoulder to shoulder, and that is exactly how many devotants make up the crew of this strange thing. They are all making last-minute checks and preparations, and they are overseeing the loading of all this equipment and the readying of the weaponry. And when this craft is ready to set sail, a low murmur spreads around the crew on the shore, who begin untethering this strange boat, and they all watch as it slowly drifts away on the water. Then one of the crew on the craft reaches up and pulls on a short length of chain, and it's then that the full scene unravels. The surrounding area, the people on the shoreline, are all bathed in an intense blue light as flames above this strange craft illuminate the shape and form of a huge balloon. This isn't a boat at all, but it is an armoured airship fitted out to rain death from above. Another pull of the chain and another blast of blue flame, and this infernal machine lifts higher and higher into the sky, and through the ragged grey cloud that shrouds this cursed place, it disappears out of sight and onto destinations unknown. So like I said, we are in an extreme fight. I don't do these very often, if at all. I can't remember the last time I went anything above formidable. in terms of challenge ranks of fights because I know how bad my people generally are at fighting. But here we are. I decided this was wise. So, we're going to have to just deal with that. We've got a giant crocodile. It's heading towards Gideon and Harrington. Gideon is currently reaching for the Crown of Tides, this accursed, ancient, powerful artifact that I will remember, like kind of remind everyone that the person who puts this on basically is bound to the sea. And the last person who wore this became this wretched coral form hidden away in the warren near, what was it called? Fool's Rest. And it's not really a great time. It's clearly a very powerful artifact because, the person who wears it seems to be able to command coral and manifest it into shapes. Gideon had to fight a giant moray eel made of coral. So it's very powerful. But I don't really feel like it's the best time. It's not really what I would describe as fun to put it on, and it will probably be the end of Gideon as a person and a character in this show. So he doesn't want to do that. But we've got a countdown clock going called the Call of the Crown. And, he's slowly being drawn into putting this on. Remember, when that clock fills, whoever is in possession of the crown will put it on. That is what we have decreed. That's what I've decreed. He's reaching for this crown. There's a giant crocodile scrambling towards him. He is just going to have to react, and that is going to trigger a move. We're in combat, so that's going to trigger the move React Under Fire, which says when you're in a bad spot and take action in a fight to avoid danger or overcome an obstacle, envision your approach and roll. And we are definitely in pursuit, fleeing, dodging, getting back into position, or taking cover, so that will be rolling plus edge. So let's React Under Fire, rolling plus edge. A good start, a strong hit. It says, on a strong hit, you succeed and are in control, which is very important. Take +1 momentum. So yes, that is nice. Get a little bit of momentum. We are up to 4. So Gideon and Harrington kind of scatter out of the way. They roll out of the way, and the crocodile gets up the bank, and only like the top half of its body is out of the water, but it kind of smashes snout first into the wall, and it kind of honks and bellows in pain, and it kind of rolls over. And I think that this, and us being in control now, this mechanically represents in the story us having a bit of a window of opportunity to attack here. Like if it's rolled over, maybe kind of it's exposed its softer underbelly. And, the security detail who were pushed into the water have pulled themselves up and out onto the rocks. And Gideon kind of flags them down, gets their attention, pulls his pistol and screams for the others to ready their guns. And this is going to be another move, and we're in control now. So the move is Gain Ground, which says when you are in control and take action in a fight to reinforce your position or move towards an objective, envision your approach and roll. And this, I think, is definitely commanding here. So I think it will be charging boldly into action, coming to the aid of others, negotiating or commanding. So let's gain ground, rolling plus heart. Ooh, another strong hit. Very nice. On a hit, you stay in control. On a strong hit, choose 2. On a weak hit, you only get to choose 1. We'll definitely take the momentum. We very much enjoy that. That will pop us up to 6 momentum, and we will crucially take the +1 on the next move, because that kind of gives us a better opportunity to do some damage and mark some progress. So we're going to do that straight away. Like the security detail, who haven't really defined. I think like, well, at least 1 died, didn't they, when the crocodile came out? So I'm going to say there's like half a dozen. There's 6 in this detail. They've all got rifles, and they are led by the head of security, that gnarly kind of guy who murdered the guy on the deck of the boat, and he's got like 2 pistols and another gun over his back. So Gideon is commanding them to shoot, and they are going to do just that. So they are going to make the move Strike. Strike says when you're in control and assault a foe at close quarters, roll plus iron, and if you attack at distance, roll edge. So that's what we're going to do. We get a +1 from the gain ground. So let's strike, rolling plus edge. I mean, should I be worried? That's 3 strong hits in a row. Surely nothing too concerning could happen here. On a strong hit, mark progress twice, and you dominate your foe and stay in control. So defeat the Guardian of the Salt Path. This extreme, so it's 2 ticks per progress. We do it twice, so 1 box, everybody. Congratulations. It feels bad, doesn't it, to do a good clean hit and do 1 box of progress. So yeah, I think that everyone just lights this thing up, right? They get their shots off. Maybe a couple of the head of security gets both shots from his pistol and his rifle off. But this thing is huge in scale. I think that the shots kind of thud into its underside and it rolls back over and kind of honks and goes back into the water, slinks out of sight. But, we see the water kind of clouding with the blood as it kind of trails off. Now, the security detail is still guarding that clockwork chest, which has the crown that they think is the crown of tides in it. And I think that whilst this crocodile has disappeared, whilst the Guardian is out of sight, we are going to use this opportunity to kind of get a better position and kind of ready ourselves to go again. So once again, we are in control. So we're going to make the move gain ground. But this time we're going to be hiding, preparing an ambush, or misdirecting. So let's gain ground, rolling plus shadow. Fuck, that's 4th strong hit in a row, and also the double 7s and a 6 strong hit with a match. Now that is something I'm just not used to happening. So yeah, I'm now feeling extra anxious that this is going to go terribly wrong and the wheels are going to come off. So it says, on a hit, you stay in control. Or once again, on a strong hit, we choose 2 of these things. On a weak hit, choose 1. We'll take +2 momentum again. I think this represents the fact that we are, in a decent-ish position. And we won't mark progress because obviously the thing has disappeared. That doesn't feel narratively right. So we'll just take the +1 again on the next move, kind of setting things up because we're kind of waiting to ambush this thing. Now, in terms of the match, I've no idea. I was tempted initially to take all 3 of those things, which I think, it's not in the rules as written, but it feels kind of right. But I'm just going to bank that match because I can't think of anything to do with it right now, but I'm sure there'll be an opportunity down the road. So in terms of what the crocodile does, we're waiting, we're setting up, getting in position, reloading, ready to fire when it reappears. But what I'm going to do is something I love doing, and I'd recommend to anyone playing this game for the first time or, the 50th time. In a combat, just roll on the combat oracles to see what your opponent does. It kind of helps keep it less predictable and can throw up some really interesting stuff. So let's do just that. Let's roll and see what this crocodile's up to. Okay, 45 says make a ferocious or reckless attack. So, okay, so, I mean, obviously it's wounded, so it's clearly going to, lash out. But we're waiting for it. We're ready for it to do that. But perhaps the ferocity is something that we're not expecting. So I think it's kind of deathly quiet. The water is still and kind of cloudy and milky. And I think the security detail are up to one side, kind of in behind some rocks on a ledge. Got their guns pointing down at the water. But this attack could come from anywhere, I suppose. But then they see the clouding of crimson blood start to kind of reach the surface. And then this thing just launches out of the water. And it must be using its tail to propel itself out, kind of almost standing on its tail. And it kind of gets up to reach the guards. But because they've moved into decent cover, they're in a great spot to kind of fire back and get a good shot at this thing. So we're in control. We are kind of springing an ambush. So we're going to once again make the move strike. This time we're going to be rolling plus edge, but with the +1 bonus. So let's strike, rolling plus edge. Sadly, the strong hit run is broken. With a weak hit, it says on a weak hit you mark progress twice, which is good, but you expose yourself to danger and you are in a bad spot. So first of all, let's mark another box. So 2 out of 10 now on defeating the Guardian of the Salt Path. And yeah, it rises. Everyone fires off. But I think it said it kind of makes a ferocious attack, didn't it? That oracle result. I think that like the momentum is too great. I think that like a lot of the shots bounce off because its scales are really tough, and it's huge. It's absolutely massive. I think maybe it's bigger than we first thought. Maybe this is the first time we've seen like nearly all of it out of the water. I think some of the shots kind of thud into its jaw and it flinches a little bit, but its momentum is such that it just keeps going, and it reaches up to this ledge where the security detail are, and its snout just kind of gets there and sweeps the security team off and kind of down from their position. And I think that perhaps one of the security team tumbles down the crocodile's back and splashes into the water, but as the croc comes back down, it like just crushes him under the water instantly, and then again uses its momentum to push up and out, and it like the rest of the team have to scatter. They're running for their lives. Their hiding spot is gone, and they are now into the open. And I think that the croc kind of turns and is now lumbering up towards Gideon, Lorenzo, and Harrington. And we haven't had a chance to reload. We're in a bad spot. Like, we're going to have to try and do something else. We are in cover. We haven't been scattered out from that like the others. So I think that as this thing runs at us, we're going to try and kind of get a hit on it with our knives and cutlasses as it gets close. So this is going to be another move, and this move is Clash. Clash says when you are in a bad spot and fight back against a foe at close quarters, roll +iron. Now, we will leverage Harrington's connection bonus here. So that's a little something that's good because we're terrible at fighting up close. So let's Clash, rolling +iron. Now, I mean, we only rolled against a 3 and a 5 there, so we could burn our momentum to make that a strong hit, but that feels to me a little bit like a waste this early on, so we'll leave that because we do get to mark progress on a weak hit. And yeah, the move says on a weak hit, mark progress, but you are dealt a counter blow or setback. You stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. So we only mark progress once on a weak hit, so that's half a box. So we're now up to 2.5 boxes on defeating the Guardian of the Salt Path. And I think what happens is its momentum is such, it just overruns our position. It kind of, we're in cover like behind some rocks, and it just kind of goes over the top of us, and Harrington and Gideon and Lorenzo duck down, but they kind of jab their cutlasses up, and it just kind of nicks this thing. Really, this is like a paper cut to this, but it kind of hits the thing on its belly, and I think its momentum knocks them all down. Now, I think that I said that one of the security team fell into the water and was crushed. I actually think when Gideon gets up from cover and the crocodiles moved on a little bit, he can see that like the whole security team was scattered. Their supplies are all over. The head of security is currently swimming for the clockwork crate. And I think that we're going to represent that suffer move by taking a hit to our supply. I think we're losing valuable things that we need to more specifically get back to where we're going. But we might also need it for anything later on. Needing supply on a overland expedition is pretty important, so I think that's taken a hit, but we do, because it was a hit, we do get the +1 momentum boost from Harrington helping out, so we are now up to 9 momentum. Okay, we will go back to the oracles. We will go back to see what the crocodile's up to, and yeah, what are we saying, crocodile? 68 says provoke a careless response. So I think, yeah, it's all the way out of the water now, and I think that we can see the full scale of this thing, but I wonder whether one of the security team didn't get in the water and has kind of ready to spear and is kind of seeing the fact that this is distracted by like Gideon and Harrington as an opportunity to strike a blow, and kind of charges forward with this thing and goes to stab it in its side. But the crocodile just flicks its tail and it just destroys this guy, just sends him smashing into the cavern wall. every bone in his body just shattered, and he just kind of slumps into a vaguely human-shaped heap on the floor. And I think that is when like there's no way that anyone is going to be taking this out with pistols and daggers, like. And I think that makes the hit to our supply worse. And Gideon realizes this. He needs to get to those supplies because this is a very well-armed detail. But, you know, they were traveling for kind of speed and convenience, so they didn't have any heavy weaponry, but there is heavy weaponry in those supplies, the supplies that are currently, you know, all over the place. They're like maybe like some kind of more powerful rifles, like a blunderbuss or something. At the very least, more ammo. And I think that we can see a crate of that on the shore on the other side. And I think Gideon is going to make a run for it. This is going to be a move, and it's going to be react under fire, which says when you are in a bad spot and take action in a fight to avoid danger or overcome an obstacle, envision your approach and roll. We are definitely getting back into position. So this is going to be react under fire, rolling, plus edge. Oh, that is a miss, and with that 6 and 9, our momentum isn't going to help us at all. Okay, so on a miss, the situation worsens. You stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. I think Gideon also gets swiped. Not as bad. Maybe it's on the way, you know, the crocodile wafted it, the poor security guy one way, and as its tail moved back the other way, it kind of trips Gideon up and sends him kind of spinning down into the water. And I think he goes in head first and he hits the bottom, and the water around him turns red as kind of like this wound on his forehead opens up, and he can feel, even though he's dazed and kind of dizzy, he can feel the crocodile re-enter the water. I'm not going to endure harm here, which is a move you can make every time you take a hit to your health, because I think this is all happening too fast. And Gideon hauls himself out of the water. His pistol is just up there on the shore, and he's kind of pulling himself out. He's got blood streaming down his face, but the crocodile is right behind him, and it comes back out of the water, and with its snout, it pushes him further and further up the rock. And as Gideon turns over, he finds himself next to his pistol, which is good, but he has the crocodile baring its teeth, ready to strike, and Gideon's got no choice, right? He's just going to have to fire back, maybe like hit it in the eye or something. But yeah, that's all he can do at this juncture. So this is going to be another move. This is Clash. It says when you're in a bad spot and fight back against a foe at close quarters, roll plus iron. When you exchange fire at a distance, roll plus edge. So let's Clash, rolling, plus edge. Good God. I mean, we started with a good run of strong hits, but now this is starting to feel punitive. But, you know, it is what it is. On a miss, your foe dominates this exchange. You stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. Gideon loses his weapon. That's definitely something that's going to happen. His pistol's gone. And I think he's gonna reach for the crown. I think he's gonna answer the call of the crown, the thing that the crocodile might respond to. It's the guardian of the path on the way to the queen, where the crown belongs. So maybe, but he doesn't want to put it on, but he's definitely going for it. And I think that, yeah, he pulls it out of the satchel, and as he kind of gets it half out, maybe doesn't really get it all the way out, the crocodile pauses. It was about to strike. It was about to just chomp him to bits, but it pauses. It hesitates. But the question is, can Gideon resist putting it on? And I think this is going to be a move. I think react under fire. The option for rolling its heart says, are you remaining stalwart against fear or temptation? And I think that in this instance, that is a perfect description of what's going on. Can Gideon resist putting on the crown? Let's react under fire. Rolling plus heart. There we go. A strong hit. It says on a strong hit you succeed and are in control. Take +1 momentum. That +1 momentum puts us up to the maximum, which is good. I think that, like, the crown doesn't ward off the crocodile. He doesn't, use it like the light and Shelob. He doesn't use it like that. Just the fact that Gideon is in possession of it is enough for the crocodile to be cautious about striking. But crucially, I think in the narrative, it buys the others some time to have got into a position to fire again. And because Harrington is probably leading this, we are going to make the move strike. We're in control. So it says when you're in control and assault a foe at a distance, roll plus edge. We're going to be using our bonus because Harrington is doing this. So let's do that. Let's strike rolling plus edge. Right, it's really feast or famine stuff, isn't it? That's another strong hit. We seem to be kind of flip-flopping between those two. On a strong hit, mark progress twice. You dominate your foe and stay in control. So we are now up to 3.5 out of 10. And remember, we get an extra +1 from Harrington momentum, but we're already on 10. So no change there. I think Gideon has to actually, now we've got control back, he's going to have to try and get to the ammo, and he'll probably be a little bit better positioned to do that now that Harrington and the others have fired into this thing, which is now turning and kind of looking at them. So let's gain ground. We're going to be coordinating a plan, studying a situation, or cleverly gaining leverage. So let's gain ground. Rolling plus wits. Right, okay. That's a miss. Now, we do have 10 momentum, but if we burn it, we'll only be burning it to be a weak hit. And, I mean, it feels like it would be good to be in control, but we haven't even kind of half damaged this thing. So I think I'm going to let it ride. The miss condition on gain ground says, on a miss, your foe gains the upper hand, the fight moves to a new location, or you encounter a new peril, you are in a bad spot and must pay the price. So Gideon gets to the ammo crate, this kind of small box, and he picks it up and he tries to run. Now, the croc has been distracted by the other guards, Harrington, Lorenzo, and it moves in and makes short work of them. It kind of grabs one just to Gideon's left and kind of snaps it into a bloody pulp. But the head of security is still there. He's kind of protecting the clockwork crate that holds the crown. He's grim-faced. He's firing his pistols away. And when they're out of ammo, he draws his dagger and kind of screams this war cry. And Gideon chooses that moment to make a run for it towards Harrington, towards Lorenzo. But the croc turns, it grabs the head of security in its mouth and starts chasing Gideon. And the head of security is in this thing's mouth and he's kind of stabbing it in the jaw with his knife, but he's not doing anything. And Harrington and Lorenzo's mouths open as they see behind Gideon as he's running towards them the head of security, his head and legs separated and going in different directions. And then they see Gideon being launched on the snout of the crocodile into the air. And again, this thing's so big, the momentum keeps taking it forward, and it's so fast and it's kind of so ferocious that it just crashes into a big section of wall that triggers a kind of a cave collapse, triggers a cave in. The croc and Gideon disappear in the rubble, and Harrington and Lorenzo are forced to look for another way out. The Great Hall of Brine has long been abandoned, but its grandeur remains. At the very least, in the sheer scale of this place, there are mighty columns of rock supporting a high arch ceiling, and there are long, heavy stone tables built into the floor. Now, we can only really tell what these are from their shape, because everything is covered entirely with dead grey coral. This place has not seen use in an age, but there are suddenly 2 unexpected guests arriving. Not through the huge arched entranceway, but through a collapsing segment of the cave wall. A monstrous beast, an ancient crocodile, is sprawling in a pile of rubble on the floor. And next to it, we can see the ragged form of the scoundrel Gideon Finch, battered and bloodied. He gets shakily to his feet. Now, we used the text of the move there to move the fight to a new location, but we also do need to pay the price, and I think that us being separated can be reflected by a hit to our momentum. So we're going to drop down from 10 to 8. Now, what are we going to do? We are now on our own. We are unarmed. Well, we've got creative ammo, so that's helpful. I think that Gideon will just do the first thing that he'd think of, and that's hide. I think he is going to just kind of try and squeeze himself under one of the stone tables. They're built into the floor. It's not like they can be lifted up or whatever. And I think this is the move. Will be react under fire. It says when you're in a bad spot and take action in a fight to avoid danger or overcome an obstacle in vision or approach. We are moving into hiding. So we are going to react under fire, rolling plus shadow. A strong hit. On a strong hit, you succeed and are in control. Take +1 momentum. Gideon is hiding, completely oblivious to the fact that the crocodiles have more than one sense, but it seems to have worked. He kind of wedges himself under the table. Oh, let's not forget. Let's give ourselves that momentum boost up to 9. So he's wedged under this table, and the crocodile gets its senses together and tries to sniff him out. But we'll roll on the combat oracle again and see what it does more specifically. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, 21. Destroy something or render it useless. Okay. I think that Gideon is hiding under one of these tables, and the croc is too big to get its full snout under, and I think it gets wedged, and Gideon rolls away. But as Gideon rolls away, the croc starts thrashing, and I think that its tail smashes into one of these. It's kind of like one of the. It's a pillar that's already half destroyed from the top down, so it's like half a pillar. And I think that the crocodile's tail smashes it, and it's loose. And I think that this gives Gideon an environmental advantage, because if he can push it over, maybe this thing can topple and maybe trap the crocodile or just clonk it, for want of a better phrase. This is going to be a move. We're in control. So this is gain ground. It says when you're in control and take action in a fight to reinforce your position or move towards an objective, envision your approach and roll. I think this is going to be gaining leverage with force. I know that iron isn't Gideon's strong suit, but it's the most appropriate thing here. I think he kind of wedges his shoulder up against this column that's starting to tipple. It's maybe kind of 3 or 4 meters high, way bigger than he is. But maybe if you can just get it to wobble, it will fall down in the right place. So let's gain ground, rolling plus iron. Okay, a strong hit. That was unlikely, but welcome. On a strong hit, again, we get to choose 2 of these 3 options. This time I will mark progress because we are hitting this thing. And we'll also take +1 on the next move. So in terms of defeating the Guardian of the Salt Path, we are now up to 4 out of 10. Okay, right. We reach an important juncture. Gideon has used his momentum and limited strength to topple this stone pillar that's covered in this dead coral, so crash down on this crocodile, and I think the crocodile really feels it, it's definitely hurt this thing, and it's kind of got its snout still stuck under the table. Gideon now has a perfect opportunity to do something, but what is he going to do? And I've been thinking, I think that this security detail would have some explosives in this ammo crate, right? Dynamite or like some little kind of bombs. I don't know. But they've probably got some. Now, most of our supply got destroyed. So, it's unlikely, right? But luckily there's a move that's going to help us determine whether we've got it or not. And that move is called Check Your Gear. It says, when you check to see if you have a specific helpful item or resource, roll plus supply. Now, our supply's taken a battering, but we did get +1 from the gain ground move we just did. So let's roll to see if we have some explosives. We're going to check your gear, rolling plus supply. Okay, weak hit I think is good enough. A weak hit, it says you have it, but must choose one. We can either get it and your supply is diminished, sacrifice resources, -1 supply, or it's not quite right or causes a complication or delay, lose momentum, -2. Now, we definitely don't want to do that. So I think we will take a hit to our supply. It makes sense. We don't have much left over, so let's knock our supply down to 2. Now, because that was a move that was made in combat and it wasn't a strong hit, we've lost control. So we are back in a bad spot. But with this explosive, I think it's like, like the little round kind of Bomberman bombs, a little round thing with a fuse on the top. It's like that, but it's kind of got a striker, like a lighter on the top. We've got like one of those, right? But what does that do in this instance? And this is generally how I approach fights that are high difficulty, high challenge ranks. Because I hear a lot of people say, well, how am I supposed to defeat an epic enemy when I'm marking 1 tick every time I do progress? So like a strong hit on a strike is going to fill half a box. So that's, 20 strong hits you'll need to fill the bar up, that's a protracted combat. So what I'm going to do is kind of how I think people should approach these things. If you change the narrative sufficiently, just change the difficulty, change the rank. So we now we're still facing an extreme foe. It's a huge crocodile. We're massively outmatched. But now we have some explosives, and explosives are going to ruin this thing's day. So I'm going to lower the challenge rank of this fight, and I'm going to lower it to dangerous. So we're now at 4 out of 10, but the rank is dangerous. Now we are going to try and use this explosive device to our benefit immediately, and we're going to try and lob it in this thing's mouth. Right? It's gonna get out of that kind of table trap and from under that pillar and come at us. We're going to just launch it into its mouth and try and blow it up. So this is another move. It's going to be Clash, it says, when you're in a bad spot and fight back against a foe. We're at distance, so we roll plus edge. So let's do that. I think that the crocodile does indeed smash its way out of this table and kind of shake this heavy pillar off its back. It sees Gideon stood over this now empty ammo crate and honks and hisses and charges. Gideon clicks the lighter. The fuse is sparked, and he waits for the crocodile's mouth to open, and he throws. Let's clash. Rolling plus edge. On a miss, your foe dominates this exchange. You stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. This is why you don't burn your momentum unnecessarily. We're going to burn our momentum from down to 2. That changes the action score to 9, which makes this a strong hit. It says on a strong hit, mark progress twice. You overwhelm your foe and are in control. But crucially, now this is now a dangerous rank. Marking progress twice will fill 4 boxes. So defeating the Guardian of the Salt Path goes up to 8 out of 10. We are immediately going to take decisive action. It says when you seize an objective in a fight, envision how you take decisive action, then roll the challenge dice and compare to your progress. We've folded this into the last clash. We've thrown dynamite into this thing's mouth. So let's take decisive action, rolling against 8 progress. Oh, I mean, it'll do. A weak hit. It says on a weak hit, you achieve your objective, but not without cost. Roll on the table below or choose one if the fight continues or in a bad spot. I don't think the fight continues. And it doesn't because, this thing chomps down on this little raisin that we've given it. And it goes in its huge maw without even registering. And Gideon, whose back is to one of the other pillars, just kind of rolls out of the way. And the crocodile, trying to avoid the pillar, moves to the other side and maybe gets a meter or so away, starts to turn, and then there is this crack, and the bomb goes off inside this thing's throat, and the top of its head is blown out in a kind of a misty fog of blood and scale, and it stops moving immediately. This ancient thing, I feel bad for it because it's just living its life, doing its job, and we killed it, but we kind of have to. And the blast sends Gideon flying back, and as he kind of finally sees the dust clear, he sees the foe that he's vanquished, this titanic creature. It's dead, and he can't believe that it's died by his hand, but crucially, the fight is over. Now, Harrington and Lorenzo, I think, after a minute, rejoin Gideon, and they can't believe that Gideon has done this. I think that we're going to pick off this table, the pay the price table. I think it's really obvious. The first result is it's worse than you thought, make a suffer move, -2. I think taking our supply down to 0 makes perfect sense here. I think narratively it makes perfect sense. It really puts us at rock bottom, but going down to 0 does trigger something. When you lose or consume resources, suffer -1, -2, -3, whatever. But then it says if your supply is exhausted, reduce to 0, mark unprepared. So from then on, when we suffer a loss of resources while unprepared, envision how this causes hardship and apply the cost to a different suffer move. We are finally unprepared. We have a condition, everybody. So that's bad. We have some supply on our ship, but keen-eyed viewers will notice we're not on our ship. We're in a cave network next to a dead crocodile, carrying in a kind of cursed object. But yeah, that match that we rolled earlier on the strong hit with the match that I banged, I think we're going to see the result of that now. I think as Gideon is getting to his feet, and Harrington is checking him over in general disbelief that he's still alive, we start to see some of that coral that lines the floor and lines the great hall of Brine start to illuminate again in that trail, the glowing trail leading Gideon to the court of the Sunken Queen again begins to show the way. And without too much hesitation, they follow. Okay, so the fight is over. It was something. But before we press on, I think we've got some progress to mark. We're definitely going to mark progress on the quest because we have defeated a notable foe, as listed in Reach a Milestone, and this bit is like one of the things that I struggle with sometimes with Ironsworn, and I can't think of an answer to it. I've tried, but we marked the same amount of progress on this vow when we just discovered that stone formation was the right way to go. So one roll and gather information or whatever that was gave us 1 box of progress, but then also defeating an ancient titanic crocodile that took 8-9 rolls, all of our supply and half our health is also just 1 box of progress. I wish there was a different way around it. I've thought about scaling, the amount of progress you mark if depending on how difficult the thing you're doing is, but it doesn't quite work. It makes it quite awkward. But yeah, that's always struck me as a bit of an odd byproduct of this system of marking progress and things that, 2 things that aren't the same It's the same as well. If you did like an epic journey across an entire world, when you complete it, you get to mark 1 box of progress on your quest. It's the same as if someone just gave you the map that told you where to go, that started that journey in the first place. It's odd, but anyway, I'm not crying out for this to be fixed. It's just something that I noticed. In terms of other progress, Harrington really helped us with the croc back there, first by helping us kind of stab it, but then also shooting it whilst it was about to chomp down on Gideon. So we can mark progress on our connection with May Harrington up to 4 out of 10. So, okay, we're going to get the expedition going again. We've picked up the trail and we are heading off to the court of the Sunken Queen. We're going to make the move, undertake an expedition. For each segment of the expedition, envision your approach. We're doing this with wits. We're being very careful here. So we will stay vigilant. Let's undertake an expedition, rolling plus wits. Okay, it's a weak hit. On a strong hit, you reach a waypoint. Envision the location and mark progress. On a weak hit, as above, but the progress costs you, and then we can have make a suffer move, or we can face a peril at the waypoint. Firstly, let's mark progress. We are up to 9 out of 10 on find the court of the Sunken Queen. Let's figure out what we see. We've got plenty of cave oracles in the book. Let's use them. Let's roll up a couple of details. Okay, 95 is a corpse clutching a token. Okay. And 11 is constructed bridge. Okay, so I think that we leave the hall and go down some other corridors and tunnels following this bioluminescent trail, and we finally reach this narrow chasm, and there is a bridge across it. It's coral again, but the unusual thing about this coral is that it's floating in kind of segments. It's not a complete bridge. And the kind of the entrance to this bridge, there's a body. You know, they kind of pause to maybe check that it's not moving, and it definitely isn't. We'll kind of establish some more details about it as we get closer. But first, we need to establish a peril. I think the peril is very obviously the crown calling to Gideon. We're getting closer now. I think we can fill in one more segment of the clock. We're up to 7 out of 8. This is getting very, very spicy. And I think that narratively this is represented by the fact that I think Gideon is starting to feel paranoid that Harrington is coming for the crown. Remember, her motive that we rolled up was to steal something for an organization. We never really established what that was. We figure it's the crown. The crown that, for all intents and purposes, is... was in the hold, has been destroyed and is back there at the bottom of that kind of milky lake where the crocodile came out of. So she clearly knows what's the real crown if that's what she wants. And I think that Gideon becomes really protective of it. I think that obviously we've marked 1 on the clock, but I think it's going to trigger a move. And that move is test your relationship. It says when your relationship with a connection is tested through conflict, betrayal, or circumstances, roll plus heart. I think this is the perfect use of that move now as Gideon approaches the corpse, but has kind of like his senses attuned to what Harrington is doing. So let's test your relationship, rolling plus heart. Okay, that is a strong hit. It says on a strong hit, develop your relationship. We're up to 6 out of 10 now on May Harrington, and I think that whether or not it's this discovery that he's made of this body, or whether or not it's just the situation, or that he's just so close, maybe he's starting to feel like perhaps in this moment this is not where she's going to go for it, or maybe he's suddenly unsure that that's really what she wants. I think that just kind of zooming out for a second of this small kind of paranoid moment between these two, zooming out for a second, like we're right at the end of this expedition. The court of the Sunken Queen is on the other side of this bridge. The bridge has got nothing to it. We can just walk across it. It's not dangerous, especially if you're in possession of the crown. So we're going to finish the expedition now. It's a progress move which says when your expedition comes to an end, roll the challenge dice and compare to your progress. So we have 9 progress. Let's roll the dice. Okay. A weak hit. That's fine. We'll take it. We finish it. On a strong hit, you reach the destination and complete a survey, and you mark the reward on your Discovery's legacy track. On a weak hit, we also do that, but we face an unforeseen complication at the end of the expedition. We make the legacy reward 1 rank lower. Because this was the lowest rank, we don't get anything. It was a troublesome expedition. We also envision what we encounter. So completing that expedition doesn't give us anything on our legacy track, but it does count as progress for the vow to return the Crown of Tides. So we are now up to 7 out of 10. Now, that bit of progress begs the question, do we try and complete the quest? Do we try and fulfill that vow? Now, we haven't really returned the Crown of Tides. We've found the court, but I think maybe we have one more thing to do. But before we do that, actually, let's figure out what this corpse and the token is all about, right? And we're on a cursed island. This token's got to be cursed, right? So I think we'll roll on the cursed token thing. But first, let's determine from what this person is wearing and how they're kind of outfitted, who they were, using the character oracles. Okay, 44 is outcast, and there's a separate oracle to roll on based on that. What kind of outcast are they? 23 is deserter or mutineer. Interesting. And this token, this cursed token, what is it? 50 is jagged obsidian dagger marked with everlasting bloodstains. And I think that dagger's got to be in the corpse, right? It's got to be in this person's belly, right? And I think that's how we find them, kind of hunched forward, hands over their stomach. And I think Gideon just can't help as he kind of moves in. And this body is long dead. It is kind of hundreds of years old. There's like sunken skeleton. There's very little skin or hair left. It's like practically bones, but it's wearing this kind of armored breastplate. And when Gideon kind of rubs the dust off it, can make out some ancient heraldry, and that heraldry belongs to some regiment of renown. And you know, this individual has clearly gone in search of some treasure down here or something. He's been called to this point, and met this grisly end. And Gideon, I think he's just going to pull the dagger out, satisfied that this person doesn't need it, right? And he kind of pulls this dagger out, and it's pretty long. It's kind of about that, and it's kind of a very unusual flinty kind of shape. It's not smooth, but the disturbing thing about it is it's dripping with fresh blood, like dripping, even though it's just come out of a dusty skeleton. It's, you know, spattering blood all over the floor. And Gideon kind of recoils and drops it. And he, now close enough to this court, presses on over the floating coral bridge. But what he doesn't see is Harrington taking it. Lorenzo sees it, but Gideon doesn't. With each of Gideon's steps, everywhere he puts his foot down, there is a bioluminescent glow and a coral bloom. And through a nondescript opening in the wall, they enter the court. And the court is smaller and far less regal than you would think. There is a circular opening in the ceiling, and there is a shaft, a powerful shaft of pure moonlight coming through. Harrington says, "Is this it? Is this the place?" Gideon nods. He's sure of it. And with each step they take in, the coral begins to come to life. What was grey and shriveled becomes colourful and full of life. This place is bursting with it. And that kind of explosion of colour reveals the location of the Queen, because she is still grey, mottled with these dead coral blooms. It's a statue. She is sat forward, pensively thinking, on the edge of a throne. She looks sad, bereft, and there is a perfect groove on the top of her head where the crown should go. Gideon, for the first time, takes it fully out of his satchel, and he is going to attempt a coronation of sorts. As he lifts it and steps closer to her, he can start to hear that chanting again that he heard when he first set foot on this island, and it fills him with dread. And this is going to be a move. This move is face danger. It says when you attempt something risky or react to an imminent threat, envision your action and roll. We are going to be doing this with resolve, command, or sociability. So let's face danger, rolling plus heart. On a miss, you fail, or a momentary success is undermined by a dire turn of events. Pay the price. Okay. We've not done this in a while, but it's time to activate the monkey. Lorenzo, lest we forget, is his own asset card, and his first ability reads, your monkey companion finds its own trouble. Once per situation, when you score a miss, you may suffer the cost by envisioning the monkey causing mischief or getting into danger. If you do, roll plus its health. Okay, Lorenzo, you got this, buddy. On a strong hit, the monkey unwittingly turns the situation in your favor. Take +2 momentum. So let's pop ourselves up to 4 momentum. That's something, I guess. And yeah, as the chanting begins to kind of feed into Gideon's head, Gideon pauses as he's about to place the crown on the Queen's head, and then changes his mind. He has a Frodo moment and motions to put it on his own head. And then he is abruptly stopped by Lorenzo, who scampers up his body, looks him in the eye, and gives him a rough slap around the face, snapping him out of it. Lorenzo then takes the crown and places it on the head of the Queen. And I think that that is our final bit of progress that we will make on Return the Crown of Tides. That puts us up to 8. And we're going to fulfill our vow. Fulfill your vow says when you reach the end of your quest, roll the challenge dice and compare to your progress. Like I said, we've got 8. Let's roll now. Okay, that is a weak hit. That's fine. It says on a strong hit, your vow is fulfilled. Mark a reward on your quest legacy track as per the vow's rank. On a weak hit, as above, but there is more to do, or you realise the truth of your quest. And there's other kind of extra bits here if we're going to swear another iron vow to set things right. Firstly, let's do the whole legacy track thing. This was a formidable vow, so we're going to bump that down to dangerous, which means we get to mark 2 more ticks, and that is some more XP. It's raining XP here. That's 4 XP we've got to spend, which is very good. But yeah, we're gonna envision how this kind of goes a bit south. So the second that the crown is placed upon the Queen's head, like nothing happens. And Gideon kind of steps back and maybe thinks he's got this all wrong. Maybe he is the person that should be wearing this crown. But then he notices something. He notices tears start to stream down the Queen's cheek, and the coral all around her starts to grow at an alarmingly rapid rate. But even more alarmingly than that, the ground begins to shake, and these shafts of spires of coral jut dangerously out of the floor, missing Gideon, Harrington, and Lorenzo by a matter of centimeters. And then, even more alarmingly than that, the court begins to fill with water, and then before either of them really notices is up to their waists and rising. And Harrington says, "What's happening? Gideon, what's happening?" And Gideon says, "I don't know." Wait, what did you call me? And before Harrington can answer, all three of them are submerged completely. We see 4 soldiers wearing very unusual armour. Shoulder pads, chest plates, helmets. They are waiting on a rocky outcrop, looking over the sea at night. They look nervous, expectant. They are clearly waiting for something. Behind them, down on a small sandy cove, we can see a whole battalion of troops dressed similarly, also waiting. One of the soldiers on the outcrop, leader by the looks of things, grabs a spyglass from the others and looks out to sea. As he scans the horizon, he can see the water suddenly broken by a periscope. He motions to the person next to them, who signals with a mirror. Flash, 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 flash. Out on the sea, the periscope returns the signal. The leader signals down and the army moves towards the shore and towards their landing boats. And we see the periscope disappear and a mighty warship, a submersible, rise and come to a stop on the surface. On the hull, a hatch is undone, and 4 people wearing similar armour to those on the shore head out onto the deck and wave. Then a solitary figure follows them. It's a woman, auburn hair. It's Felicity. Before they can do anything else, there is a distant rumble that grows louder and louder. The sea around them begins to roil, and even this mighty warship is buffeted by the force as the island in front of them begins to collapse. On the shore, the ground opens up and a mighty yawning chasm swallows the battalion whole. Felicity Devereaux looks on and watches as the Isle of Naveni sinks before her very eyes. Thank you a million times. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, subscribe if you've not done so already, and check the little bell icon so you can be notified as soon as the next video drops. I'll be back next time, but until then, it is farewell and safe passage.